Hey wonderful human beings, and welcome back to another video. I am walking over to my new apartment to give you guys an empty apartment tour today. Alright, so my camera just died as soon as I got into the apartment, so what I'm going to do is use my phone. I'm going to give you guys a quick empty apartment tour of this apartment that I'm moving into next week, and then I will explain to you guys why I'm moving. There's some tea to spill, and it's a pretty crazy story, so I'll explain that at the end so that if you're not interested in my life and all of that, then you can just watch the tour. And here we go. This is the empty apartment tour. We're starting at the door. I am going to be moving into another studio apartment, which basically means that it's one large room, but the space is pretty big and very bright, if you can tell, because there are floor-to-ceiling windows. So let me show you what it looks like. So first thing you see when you walk in is the kitchen, and it's this really nice open space layout. I'm gonna be putting in an island here, which is why I came to measure everything today, because I want to have more space for chopping, and I think it'll be really good for YouTube videos and filming that. Pretty brand new equipment. So oven looks good. We've got a really nice subway tile backsplash, microwave, which I don't really use too often, which is why I don't own one right now, but it'll be nice to have. And then lots and lots of storage, which is key in New York City kitchens. I would say this is actually pretty big for a New York City kitchen. And then over here we have a tiny dishwasher. The one that I have right now is regular. This one seems like a mini to me. I would say the one that I have is like probably double the width, but really cool to have that as well. And then we've got a giant fridge and freezer. And this is a lot bigger than the fridge that I have right now, which will be really important because, as you guys know, I work a lot with food. That's what my channel is all about. So great to have that. And a pull-out freezer, which is also really handy. If we turn the other way, we've got 3 doors here. So starting with the first one, and this is one of the reasons why I wanted to move into this apartment, washer and dryer in unit. If you don't live in New York City, you might not understand that this is actually quite a luxury living in Manhattan. There just usually isn't room for a washer dryer in unit. A lot of buildings have it in the basement. My current one does, but this will be just really nice to have in my own apartment. And then this next door is a closet. Pretty big space. I do think my current apartment's closet is a little bit bigger, just like there's more depth to it, but there's really nice shelving, so I can use that for clothing. We've got some drawers, secret door over here, forbidden door. Yeah, pretty decent sized closet. And then door number 3, this is the bathroom. This is actually a very large bathroom, definitely bigger than the bathroom that I have in my current apartment. Wow, it's very echoey. I'm so sorry about the audio in this video. It's gonna be pretty terrible, but bathtub, which is great. This is basically the same setup that I have in my current apartment, shower, bathtub situation. Then we've got this sink, cabinets, lots of medicine cabinet space and big mirrors. So all 3 of them have shelving in them, which is great because I have way too many skincare products. And then a toilet, of course. To the left of the bathroom, we have this open space, which is probably where I'm gonna be putting my bed. I think I'm gonna put it right there, and then figure out some situation with like either plants or a desk, maybe by the window. One thing that's really hard about this apartment is that there's one entire wall that's kind of been taken away as far as decor, because it's, as you can see, floor to ceiling windows. I'm trying not to show you guys the view because I feel like that'll be a very easy way to figure out where I live, and we gotta be safe on the internet, you know what I mean? All right, so there we go, floor to ceiling windows, and then lots of space in the center area too, which will be most likely the living area, and then bedroom over there. Like I said, it's a studio, so you kind of have to make the divides by yourself. And that is the empty apartment tour. I'll keep you guys updated as I slowly move in and show you guys some of the DIYs that I'm doing. I actually created a separate home Instagram account so I could talk about just like non-toxic living and some DIY projects that I'll be doing for people who actually care. I know that my content is not necessarily all about homes and interiors, so I wanted to make a separate account for that, but so far I'm really enjoying posting on there because, fun fact, before this blog I used to have a DIY blog that nobody knew about. I just really love creating and making things in DIY. I think it's really, really fun. So that's the tour. So let me now explain why I'm moving into this apartment. I really hope this audio isn't trash so I can upload it without there being too much echo. I've got you guys propped up on a soup can in a kitchen cabinet. So we're really just working with what we got today. So before I explain why I moved to this apartment, I have to give you guys a little bit of context. I've always lived on the Upper West Side of Manhattan, and 3 years ago I lived in probably the smallest apartment I've been in. And at the time I was still working a corporate job, so it didn't really matter to me what the light looked like. I kind of was doing Instagram, but not really YouTube. And you know, it wasn't my job, so it wasn't a huge deal to me. About 3 months after starting my first corporate job, I inevitably quit, and then I started doing this full time. So it became really important to me to have a place that had more light, just more space, especially kitchen space, because as you guys may know, this is primarily a health and wellness blog, which involves lots of vegan cooking and food. So I had to move. But the main reason why I wanted to leave the building was because I don't even know how to explain this without, I can't go into too much detail because I feel like there's a chance that the situation that I'm talking about could come back to life just by my talking about it, if that makes sense. But I was working with a brand, which is something that I do often as part of my job, and kind of befriended someone there, just met someone on the team who I really had a lot in common with in real life. And that's kind of uncommon because typically when you're working with brands, it's all virtual, so you'll meet on email and you never really hang out in real life. Anyway, met with this person, was pretty cool, like lots of similar interests, and felt like this is awesome. I feel like I could genuinely be friends with this person. And then for some reason I started to get this really bad vibe. One time we connected at a location of the brand, and somehow the topic of age came up. I think I had actually mentioned that I had just left my job after 3 months and it was my first job. And this person looked at me and they're like, "Your first job? How old are you?" I think at the time I must have been 22. So I was like, I'm 22 years old. And the reaction that I got was really weird. I can understand being shocked, but it was almost like this anger, kind of like, I don't know, made me feel really bad, the way they reacted. But basically they seemed to be very shocked and kind of upset. And I said, "Well, how old are you?" And they wouldn't tell me, but based on the conversation we'd had before that, talking about how many years they had lived in certain countries and states, I'd kind of tried to piece it together in my head and realized that this person was a lot older than me, which is totally fine. I have a lot of friends that are much older than me, but I think based on the reaction that I got, I felt like it was, I don't know, I felt like there was something more that this person thought that, or this person might have had some kind of romantic interest in me. So that was kind of like a red flag for me as it was. And after that, I didn't really see this person too often because I just got such a weird vibe after that situation. And I'm the type of person to really internalize any awkward experience like that. So I was like, oh my God, that was so weird. Why was it so weird? I didn't understand. So anyway, left that. Then I started to get really just inappropriate text messages. And by that, I just mean like constantly asking to hang out. And when I said I couldn't, or that I didn't want to, or I had other plans, like just this really angry reaction. So that was red flag number 2. And I was just like, this cannot happen. I don't want to hang out with this person again because I'm just not feeling good about it. So basically decided to cut things off, and I kept being contacted, like non-stop contact. And then one day, and keep in mind this is probably about 3 months after I cut off contact, but was still being contacted by this person, my doorman in apartment number 1 let me know that someone had come and that they were going to let them upstairs because they were from the brand and said that they knew me. And of course they knew my name, and I assumed they got my address from the brand who had sent me packages before. And I had to call my doorman and say, please don't let him in. And that really scared me because I just think showing up unwarranted at someone's place, having access to their address through the brand is obviously so wrong. They were not in the marketing department. They were not someone who needed to have my address, and that really scared me. So after that experience, I decided it was best that I move. And I had also been really new to social media, and I didn't understand the importance of protecting your address and where you lived. And I had definitely filmed myself like walking out of the apartment a few times and said things like, oh, you know, this store that I'm going to, it's only 3 blocks away from my apartment. So it made it pretty easy for someone who was trying to find me to find me. And I always had a doorman, so there was that added layer of protection, but you just really never know. And it's always best to be safe than sorry. So after that first move, I moved into the apartment that I live in now, and that was already for safety reasons. And now in this apartment, which I found through a friend of mine, and I'm so grateful that I connected with her and she found me this place, I moved basically within a week's notice because I was just so nervous about everything and I didn't feel safe and comfortable. Moved into my second apartment, which was a lot nicer, a lot more expensive, but I felt like it wasn't nice enough to warrant the price. It was a pretty steep price, but there were a lot of issues with the building. So rusty water was a problem constantly, and things like flooring that just wasn't done well. So there were like little cracks in it where dust would get caught. It was really hard to clean, little things like that. But I was super grateful because the kitchen was a lot bigger, lighting was much better. My friend lived in the building, and I felt much safer because the doorman rotated and there were 4 of them. That all being said, I also never gave my address to that brand again, and there was pretty much no way for this person to figure out where I lived now. I was very, very careful about, filming myself walking out of the building, learned my lesson to say the least, and moved into this place. About a year went by, and I'd kind of been warned about the neighbor who lived next door to me. And
And I kind of didn't really think anything of it. I was like, you know what, it can't be worse than having someone show up at your house unannounced, right? But it kind of became obvious that there was something going on. And I think, you know, I have so much compassion for my neighbor, but definitely something was going on that maybe they weren't 100% all there at all times. Could have been substance abuse. I wasn't really sure what was going on, but all around friendly, just very intrusive, and yeah, just not the best vibes, but nothing scary until about a year later. So this was year 2 of my living in the second apartment. I'm not sure if it's a boyfriend. I'm assuming it's a boyfriend or a partner or a roommate maybe, but I'm pretty sure it's a boyfriend. Moved into the apartment. So basically now there are 2 people living next door to me in a studio, and this is where the problems really started. So it began with cigarette smell, smoke smell, and I couldn't figure out where it was coming from. For some reason I thought it was outdoors, the neighbors on my other side, but soon figured out it was the neighbor that had just gotten that boyfriend and started living with him. So that was an issue. And then every time I took out the trash, I would find like these 12 packs of beers, always filled to the brim with empty bottles, cans, like all kinds of alcohol. And when I first encountered him, it was actually pretty scary because I'd never seen him before. And he just was asking me a ton of questions like, do you live here? Like, blah, blah, like, what do you do? What's your job? And I was like, that's kind of weird for someone that I've only met like 3 seconds ago, right? So I was like, okay, that's a little weird, but we'll let it pass. And then I soon realized that was the person living next door to me. And every time I saw that person after that, they were inebriated, and I assume drunk, but I think later on it started to become obvious that there was some kind of substance involved as well. And then I would start hearing through my shared wall constant fighting. And I don't really hear things through the wall often, so I know that it was very loud. There was like wall banging, things breaking, screaming. I kind of put my ear against the wall, and I wasn't trying to be, you know, eavesdropping, but I wanted to make sure everything was okay and that it was coming from them. And I would hear just really awful things that he said to her. And I don't want to assume or exaggerate, but I felt nervous for the safety of my neighbor, the woman who lived next door. So a couple times I have called the police because it just really didn't sound right. Like what I was hearing was very scary. Also just like a noise complaint in general would be like hours of screaming and cursing. I was afraid to take out the trash and just be in the hallway in general. I would kind of like check the people, listen to see if they were there, and run out every time. And I had this like plan and routine of how to leave my apartment, which is pretty silly to think about, but definitely impacted my life. And then one day I saw him leave the apartment after like I'd heard the fighting going on, and he had blood dripping down his face, and he definitely reeked of alcohol, and he was trying to talk to me in the elevator. And this was before coronavirus, so we're in the elevator together, and he was trying to talk to me like, you know, when you're really, really not sober and you're trying to pretend like you're sober, so you intentionally have a conversation with someone to like prove that you're not drunk. It was that situation, and it just made me really uncomfortable because there was blood dripping down his face, and I had heard some things through the wall, you know? So I no longer felt safe in my apartment, but in general it was somewhat manageable because my building told me that they would be moving out during the summer, which is now. So fast forward to the last couple of months when coronavirus started, I had to stay home a lot more, and so did they. The drinking and the substance abuse got a lot worse. I started to smell this like chemical smell, a lot more smoke, and I'd kind of been tipped off by someone else in the building that it's possible they were using a synthetic drug that they were smoking. Lots of alcohol, lots of fights, lots of me avoiding them and being afraid to take out the trash. And I had to stay in. Like for months I had to stay in my apartment and just deal with that. And I felt like it was a lot of negative energy, like constantly coming from one side of my apartment, you know? So it wasn't a great place to be in, for sure. There were like a lot of other situations in which I encountered them, and it was just so inappropriate. One in particular, I was going up to the rooftop in the elevator, and they tried to come in, which was like already a no-no because it was supposed to be a rule that it's one person or one family per elevator. Tried to come in, and I said like, please don't come in, like you guys aren't wearing a mask, which is another issue. And then the man said to her, we don't want to be in an elevator with someone like her anyway. Look at her, she's obviously Chinese. And I was kind of like, okay, so I guess we're now being racist towards me because you think I'm Chinese and then I have coronavirus, yet you don't want to wear your mask in the hallway. I'm just like, that was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back for me because he had never really been overtly rude to me. He had definitely said some things about me that I heard through the wall, and I called the police on them multiple times, and I kind of started to feel like they might know it was me. So I kind of stopped calling the police, and I haven't for you know, every instance since that time, because I was worried that they would get upset with me. And that's kind of where it stands right now. I think the main thing for me is feeling physically safe is really important. I do not want to live next to someone who's abusive and violent towards other people. It's hard for me also to live next to someone who's constantly using and drinking, because if you follow me, you know that I have a history with substance and alcohol addiction. And for me, that's very, very triggering. And it's this constant feeling of like wanting to feel compassion and empathy for them, understanding where they've been, and that it's not them, it's a disease, right? But at the same time, it's very triggering for me. It's like all this work that I've done for years, and I have to experience, see, and hear and feel someone going through it right next to me, you know? And also for just talking about health, to be totally transparent, like whatever they're smoking, I don't want it coming into my apartment, and I don't want to be smoking that. Like I just don't want it in my lungs. So that's kind of where I'm at now. The apartment that I moved into here, I don't know anyone in this building, which will be a little bit sad because I really love my building doorman, and I also really love living in a building where I know someone and have a friend. But this is definitely an upgrade to my past apartment, and you can watch my previous apartment tour video if you want to. I think this is definitely an upgrade, and it's the same price as well, so I'm really excited about this change. I almost feel like this apartment was made for me, because when I first came and I saw it, I just knew right away because of how I felt, you know? I don't often go to my apartment and feel like full of just light and excitement. I more feel scared and just kind of like it sucks to be there when you know something's going on next to you. So I'm gonna be moving into this apartment, and I'm really, really excited. It's 100% an upgrade at the same price, and I think that alone is enough reason to move, but more so for my mental health. I'm really excited. I'm so excited. And I think a bonus on top of all of that is that given the situation right now and the pandemic and what's going on in the world, it's gonna be a really nice distraction and just change and something for me to put my energy and love into. I haven't been able to see my boyfriend for now 9 months, and I don't know when I'm gonna be able to see him, but I'll have this project to kind of keep me company and just really throw myself into. I'm the type of person that really needs distraction, and I know that's not maybe the best way to cope with things, but I am excited for this change, and 2020 has been a year of change. That's an understatement, right? So why not just go with it and embrace more change? Anyway, that's the tea. That's why I'm moving, and I hope you guys understand that sharing all this, my intention is not, oh my god, look at me, I'm moving into a cool new apartment. It just kind of happened, but I do want to share that journey with you guys, and I know that you've been excited to follow along, so I can't wait to share more. I can't wait to show you guys what this space eventually will look like. And now I've got to go measure some things because that's the whole reason why I came here. So I'll see you guys in another video soon. If you want to check out my past apartment tour, I'll link it in the description box below. You can also follow my home account if you want more updates and you actually care about stuff like this. If not, totally cool. I've got a bunch of what I eat in a day videos, and I will see you in another video soon. Bye.